Look back, I'm happy with all the new changes. Um, since we were playing on expert, there were, I don't know, 5 or 6 chests that we didn't get. There was a lot of Everburn we missed. There was a lot of enemies we didn't kill. Possibly a lot of loot that we missed out on and we didn't see. One of the weapons I remember getting before was like the Etok blade, which is a two-handed sword, which I didn't see. But like I said, we missed several chests. And since Alania was several levels behind, we decided to go with keeping Marcus instead. I just want to go over the stats. Just a quick peek at the stats. 35. It'd be nice if they're all the same level so you can compare them a little more, but to me, basically, by in-game, you want to get at least level 30. Finn was almost 40, and I think he might have hit 40 in that final battle. Salvador was almost 42. Salvador had no like buffs. Like this one had a strength ring. Finn had a strength ring and a grimoire. He was severely underleveled for most of our campaign. A lot of the maps he would die very quickly. He would die early, and there was like 2 or 3 maps in a row where I couldn't get him. I couldn't get him going, and I was feeling like I was wasting these things because he just was kind of useless. But luckily he came online and started doing Finn things. And the most health any enemy in the game has is 60. So you can see here his attack is 60. So if the game went on any further, I probably would have given the strength ring maybe to Salvador or someone else. But it's just amazing to me. I don't know. I just think Salvador is really a really great two-handed sword user. I did try him one time with a blade, like a dagger, and in a shield, and the very first enemy killed him, and I just kind of scratched that idea after that. I really haven't compared stats much, but I think his stats are pretty good. You know, they're not as great as Finn's, but you know, almost 40 strength, almost 30 skill, and 31 agility, with 20 defense. That's solid. Melanie was our money maker. Not the highest damage or the best damage, but I don't know this, and I haven't really I don't know what the best things to use on her are. I really love that they buff the XP gain on the healers, because they were very weak and they could not take a hit. I don't know if I'm alone in this assessment, but I think Edward is very good. Not nearly as good as Finn. I don't know. Maybe he's on par with Salvador. I don't. Very high agility, 41 agility. Salvador obviously has more strength. A lot more strength. I'm looking at the wrong one. Look at it. But even though he doesn't have like 40 strength, he still can hit pretty good. Corwin, we didn't really get a chance to experiment with him as much as I kind of would like to. We did have double damage against poison units and the endurance thing. So he basically had 27th strength, which is the same that Cedric had and had no buffs. Talon was a little behind. He still had 26 endurance, one endurance behind. Yeah, I kind of wanted to get Corwin more into combat. It just didn't happen. This is a good setup on Benjen, I think. We did have the dice on him, but if he can spread these debuffs, that's good too. Douglas, solid tank, high defense, high strength with a little bit of healing. This is one of the new items. Elias near the end, his stats are kind of underwhelming. And maybe that's why a lot of people choose not to use him. I like having another polearm guy in the group. Sylvia starts at a very high level when you get her. And I did try Sylvia one mission, but I thought that having that third healer or having that third person that could also reset a turn was just a little bit more valuable. Ryson's not, he wasn't nothing crazy, but he was respectable. I put that extra 6 attack on him. You don't really need endurance. I mean, enough to equip a weapon, but Sylvia, I think I played 1 or 2 maps with her. Wesley got a buff on his level, and that's nice. And I would love to use that aura on him. And I think they did change the stat growths for Wesley a little bit. So Wesley's a little better now. I just haven't been using them. And Roe, we used her for a long time. She was 20, which is usually a lot. We usually don't use her that long. But maybe on expert, maybe having another tank could be viable. I don't know. Shiva's obviously very good as well. Can do a lot of things as an assassin character. Unfortunately, I can't look at Ileana because I've already made the decision. But Ileana, we tried to use the throwing knives on her. Ideally, I would like to tinker in the spear tree and get Ileana rank A in spear just to get a little extra damage on her. I think maybe I should have kept that other dagger that refreshes her turn, and maybe she could pick off some low health enemies to help get her some more kills. But in the end, we ended up babysitting her a lot and just giving her the easy kills. But when a map starts, I try to look at it like in maybe 3 sections, and you know, a beginning, a middle, and an end. And early on in the map, I'm trying to get usually Skylar and Ileana and Marcus some easy kills at the beginning. But towards the middle of the map, I want to be very, very cautious with them because if you watch this playthrough, you saw me die many times and have to restart, and I almost was going to give up on expert. When you keep dying at the same spot over and over again, it gets a little frustrating, but we kept trying, pushed through it, and some maps I think are a little harder than others, especially the timed maps, and where you got like 12 turns or whatever it is, or 16 turns or whatever, and we were just dying a lot. The enemies are stronger. They had better abilities. They had new abilities. Some mobs were almost unkillable, and I don't really know why. Like when we were trying to attack some mobs, it was like saying 0 damage. But you know, maybe a second archer would have been helpful. I don't know. Normally Cassidy and Rayson are kind of neck and neck, but this playthrough Cassidy kind of got behind and kind of stayed that way, and then we kind of ditched him. Jack was one of the new characters. I guess there was 2 new guys in the bar, I think. Maybe I'm wrong. This one could be a good replacement maybe for Elias. I don't know what his in-game stats would look like. Ajax, we used him, I want to say, for 1 or 2 maps. He's very strong and very viable as another archer. I don't really know who we would sub in or sub out of our group. if we're kind of like depending on Finn to do most of the work, and maybe Salvador and Melanie, I like having those three healers or turn refreshers. Benjen, I love him to take care of the heavy shields. Finn can also take care of the heavy shields. Even Marcus can do a little bit of the heavy shield lifting. I don't know if there were more heavy shields on Expert. I want to say maybe there were, or maybe more heavy armor users. I'm sure there's a way to utilize the assassin archetype better. I'm just kind of been favored to the Blade Master and rocking a lot of two-handed swords. I'm trying to get away from using so many two-handed swords, and usually Ileana is one of my two-handed sword users, and we used her as kind of like an assassin type. We used the javelin a little bit, that one of the new weapons that has a bleed. I like the bleed mechanic, and I like the poison. But really, you want to, unless they are heavy shielded, you can't really get through the shield. You really just want to kill the guys as quickly as possible, and try to refresh your turn as often as you can. I really think Sylvia could be really good. It's just I'm not sold on the polearm yet, and I guess the new polearm is actually pretty good. I guess when I got her, I really didn't have enough money to, at least at the time, I didn't feel I had enough money to, fully upgrade her javelin, plus fully upgrade her bow. Maybe even have a dagger as well. I was surprised by how much money we ended the game with, and I could have upgraded the weapons for the star characters, but not the star characters, I mean these August, Crawford, and Ophelia. And I think if you go with the other thing, you only get two people, and here we got three, so we had to basically get rid of somebody, and I think Rayson was the odd man out. But one guy we didn't get, and I guess it was because he died, was Joran, who actually starts out very high level as well. Like when you pick him up, you get him very late, but he's 28. Sylvia, I think, for where we picked her up at, was very high level. I want to say, we picked her up at 24 maybe. I could be wrong, maybe 25. But compared to the rest of the squad, she was several levels higher. We got away from Phoebe this time. The one cool thing about Phoebe is when she heals somebody, she heals herself as well. But Cedric with the Dove effigy. It's really good, and I wasn't necessarily a big fan of the resetting of the turn ability. I just wanted someone to heal, but I'm more of a fan of these things now. Plus, they also can do group heals, so I was kind of scared, I guess, when I first started playing that if I picked someone that started out with this, that they wouldn't be able to group heal. And Corwin, I guess, can't group heal, but he has a lot of utility as well, doing poison, with the gear we put on him and the double damage to poison units and the endurance turned into strength, and with the endurance ring. But I love the setup on Cedric, like these skirmisher boots and the Dove effigy combined. It's just really powerful. Because you don't want to get behind like someone with a polearm that can poke your back line, or like an archer that can attack your back line, and then having a second or third healer a lot of times it's kind of useless because they're dead and they're not helping the team. But Salvador, like Finn has, no matter, he's always going to get 2 kills, if not 3 per turn. But I was really impressed with Salvador just getting in there and taking some hits, dodging a lot of stuff, and even though he really doesn't have a turn refresh, so to speak, maybe you can do it if he has kills 2 guys or something in 1 turn. But for him having the extra healing on him, similar to counter to Elias, really helped keep him alive. Finn, we used him a little bit early on, maybe 1 map, 2 maps. Arlen didn't get a level 10. Abigail got level 8. Khalif 12. 14. 14. And these guys start out around this level, or this level 17. Ajax, like I said, I think we used him a map or 2. Jack we didn't use, we just stole his gear. Like I said, very good. He could be a very good replacement for Elias if you're tired of using Elias. Cassidy kind of fell off. He died early a couple maps, and he just got replaced. But you get a lot of really good characters mid to late game. You get Shiva, you get this new one, Sylvia, you get Wesley, you get Salvador. So there's always a lot of tough decisions to make. positioning is very key because there's a lot of times where you want to move up enough that trigger the enemies to charge at you, but you don't want to get overwhelmed. And Finn and Salvador were just great. If you put them in the right position and enemies can charge at them, they can easily take 4 or 5 guys. And of course, that's one reason why they're so much higher level than everybody else. And Melody was a very high level, but like I said, we used her as our money maker. So it would have been cool to kind of get these 3 maybe to 40, but we got very close. Very close. Like I said, one disappointment was we didn't pick up Joran, but we really don't use Joran much, even though he starts out like at 28 or high level, very high level. Just because we haven't really been utilizing the spear. But like the final map, you see how strong the spear can be. They just don't hit very hard, but if you're just trying to whittle away, if you're surrounded or something and you just want to whittle everyone away, it seems to be really, really good at doing that. Maybe stick in like a spear on Douglas would be helpful in some situations. I kind of like the mace for the armor pin, but in other situations, depending on the enemy type, maybe before gold was very scarce, and now gold seems to be kind of plentiful. Although there was a lot of areas where I could have spent gold and upgraded a couple extra weapons and have a couple extra loadouts on some guys. And like I said, there was at least, I don't know, at least 5 chests, maybe more, maybe even as many as 10 that I missed. So there was a lot of weapons and gear that I missed out on. But I'm proud of myself that I finished the expert. Like I said, some enemies almost seem to be unbeatable, but we managed to push through it. But I don't know if, putting these on Salvador would make him maybe closer in line with Finn. I really don't know. He wasn't far behind, that's for sure. But Edward's very strong in his own right. Like I said, he's kind of like a child prodigy, and maybe not the highest strength, but his agility is just off the charts, and his skill is very high as well. So I think that's what really makes him good. And I don't know, maybe Salvador would even be better if I would have stuck the weapon Ryson was using, because Ryson was using the Crucible sword. But I mean, you can pause the video and if you're looking for stats, you know, you can pause the video here, look at the stats, compare them. But you also got to keep the levels in mind. That's why it's nice to kind of keep your team somewhat around the same level so that you can compare them a little easier. Like I said, I'm trying to get away from so many Blade Masters, but Blade Masters are just so good. Like, I've used Shiva as a Blade Master. It looked like this time I don't think I got the choice. Maybe I did. I can't remember. Or she just might have started out as an assassin. I don't really know the best setups or whatever, what the best weapons for each character are. I mean, there's like a little dagger that refreshes your turn if you use that ability, but the ability does not hit very hard. I want to say it does maybe 20 damage, which roughly is at end game a third of someone's health. And then the other problem that I was having was a lot of times, even when you do refresh Shiva's turn, she's not really in a position to kill another enemy, because assassins, you really need to be using backstabs and flanks and that kind of thing. There was a couple interesting weapons. I don't really know how they work yet. You know, there was like the parry stuff. I don't know if you're supposed to have a shield with it, or like there's a shield built into the weapon. Maybe keeping the scimitar on somebody would have been useful, but a lot of my healers, like, they never really got in combat. The closest thing was maybe Corwin putting poison on somebody, and I think I might have got a kill one time with them, but just because we had lost so many guys. I mean, if you get 14 guys and 3 of them die on a map, and then you're trying to be careful with another 3, like Skylar and Marcus and Alania, and I mean that's almost half your team that you're not really using. Well, I had to look at the forums and see what other people think. I know a lot of people like don't like Elias and maybe don't use him. I like having the a bleed. That's why I like the polearm. But not only is Eliana a very versatile character, you could even make Skylar into something different. You know, I mean, he could use a bow, he could use a spear, he could use a sword. And if we would have killed like everybody on every map, maybe we would have reached, you know, ideally 35, but Everyone was pretty much 30 or higher except for Talon, I believe. And like I said, there was a map where I subbed Talon out and used maybe even 2 maps where I tried Shiva, but that one very hard map where you got to send, or at least I do, I send like 2 Blade Masters and an Archer north, and then I send like my tank and polearm guy, Finn, and a healer left, and Salvador and another person, usually another Blade Master south. This time, I can't remember what I used. Maybe I used a healer to make sure Salvador was okay. That particular map, the one I'm thinking of, I sent my core group of, Skylar, Marcus, Ileana. When I say core, I mean those 3. And then plus their pocket healer, who was Cedric, plus Benjen. And usually that's probably the most dangerous because you're putting your characters that you need to be careful with in harm's way, and they have to eliminate a lot of enemies, and you want them to be at least level 20, if not higher. But yeah, I was pretty happy with this playthrough, and it took me a while. It took me a couple trips home, just with one day off. That was more the frustrating thing was, getting beat by a mission 3 or 4 times, and then, not having enough time to keep trying. Then I had to go to work again. Go out of town for a few days. But shouts out to the developer. I mean, it's a one-man operation. I mean, of course, he had a little bit of help, but all in all, it's a one-person operation. He is very active in the community. He is always reading your comments, reading your suggestions. He's adding new weapons to the game. He's adding, one of the critiques that I had was you don't have an option to buy the heavy bandage. I mean, you get a heavy bandage with some of your recruits, but that'd be one way. If you got excess money, you could just throw a heavy bandage on a few more people. Another thing I could have done is maybe buy a tungsten tower shield. If you're looking for, there was another cool mall, so maybe having another person specialize in destroying heavy shields would be nice and useful, because at least on Expert, the problem I had, either Finn would die or Benjen would die early on, and then my options for dealing with heavy shields were a big problem. There was another add-on or something that, a little forge thing that ignored shields, or just did more armor pin or whatever. But a lot of these weapons I'm using are special weapons, and some of them already have the stuff built in, or there wasn't room to use those runes. And Ileana had the bag of coins, and we cashed it in at 2,000, but it can go all the way up to 5,000 with the sack of coins, and we never replaced another item on her, so we could have left that in place a little while longer, perhaps. I see a lot of people with, assuming they got the endurance, multiple weapons on every character. And if you got the money, yeah, it's very doable, and I guess it's nice to have an option. But definitely early on, I think you want to concentrate a little more on one weapon and using that cash to forge better weapons for other people. But anyway, thanks for watching, guys. I just wanted to do a little short recap. Thank you.